This is the F-35. It's what's known as a fifth-generation fighter, which means it has the latest in stealth, avionics, and communication tech.
Its technology has been called game-changing.
The enemy cannot see it.
It's also for sale. The world has witnessed the effectiveness of the F-35 platform in real time with Israeli strikes on Iran.
Poland recently purchased 32 brand new state-of-the-art F-35 fighter jets.
But since President Trump returned to the White House, some countries are wavering in their commitment to the program and threatening to hit the eject button on weapons deals.
We are also examining other alternatives.
With global tensions rising and a new sixth-generation fighter on the horizon, we ask, exactly why are US allies now calling their jets on the F-35? The F-35 has always been controversial.
More problems for the military's F-35.
An F-35 stealth fighter crashed into the South China Sea on Monday.
It is 7 years behind schedule.
But earlier this year, a rumor about the F-35 began spreading in European defense circles. According to the rumor, jets the US had sold to its allies were secretly rigged with a kill switch that could disable the F-35s remotely. For countries buying American fighters, this was a worrisome prospect. Did they really want to give the US the power to just turn off their planes at any time? Soon, talk of a kill switch was picked up by the press. Defense experts and Lockheed Martin denied the rumors. So did the Pentagon, which had to issue an official statement insisting there's no such thing as a kill switch. Which makes sense, because the US doesn't need some secret switch to ground F-35s.
The physical kill switch, or even the software kill switch, if you like, which I think is what people were suggesting, doesn't exist. But a kill switch of sorts exists, because of course all of the F-35 partner nations rely on the support chain that is managed by Lockheed Martin, and one would expect Lockheed Martin to do what the United States government tells them to do.
Let's say if we had an order for small diameter bombs or JDAMs or AIM-120 missiles, if those deliveries all of a sudden are stopped because the US government wants to use it as a leverage to create some sort of advantage for the US, that could really hurt you right away.
The data dependency on the US is also pretty high. Mission data files, for example, which are the information that feeds the brain of the jet. So things like threat system laydown in the area that they're operating, friendly system signatures in the area that they're operating, countermeasures programming for how the electronic warfare systems on the jet would respond to various threats. Those need to be regularly updated in order to remain as effective as they can be.
Look, the kill switch might be an unsubstantiated rumor, but it reflects something real. The US has already shown willingness to restrict how allies use American-made weapons.
Ukraine has been pleading with the United States to try and lift this restriction on their ability to fight.
Lifting the restrictions on long-range strikes for Ukraine now will help us to end the war as soon as possible.
The Biden administration letting Ukraine use American munitions for limited strikes on Russian soil.
With the war in Ukraine threatening to spin out into an even larger conflict, NATO countries have to ask, if they did go to war with Russia, if lives were on the line, would they be able to fully utilize the American equipment they purchased? Fears of US weapons restrictions are just one piece of a much bigger shift, a lot of which boils down to Trump's foreign policy.
The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it, but now I'm president.
He's been more than willing to take a hard line with America's closest allies, like the fact he says he wants to take over Canada.
What I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state. Really? It would make a great state.
And while Canada's new Prime Minister has politely declined,
this will never ever happen.
The White House has also condemned NATO members for not spending enough on defense, warning that European countries should no longer rely on the US for protection.
If we keep on giving the Europeans everything that they want, they're never going to become self-sufficient, and they're never going to produce sufficient weapons so that they can defend their own country.
Most European leaders agree they need to beef up defense spending, and have been doing so. In fact, at a June NATO summit, member nations agreed to Trump's demands, raising their defense spending to 5% of GDP. But longtime allies have also expressed shock that, as they see it, America is turning its back on its friends.
This realignment poses a question: where would US stand if
NATO or Eastern Flank or any of our countries would need to defend ourselves from Russian escalation. Because what we're seeing happening in Ukraine, every single country on the Eastern Flank is placing itself in Ukrainian position and asking a question, would it be any different if we were in where Ukraine is currently?
Now, these nations are left wondering, is spending billions on US tech really a reliable path to a more independent defense?
You know, when we sell to other countries, even if they're allies, you never know about an ally. An ally can turn, you understand? You're going to find that out.
To be clear, nations are still buying the F-35. Just this June, the UK committed to purchasing 12 F-35As, meant to carry both conventional weapons and nukes, in an effort to boost its nuclear deterrence capability. But this year we've also seen several F-35 customers publicly express second thoughts about the programme. Take Canada, whose Defence Minister Bill Blair said this in March.
Right now, we have undertaken to purchase 88 of the F-35 fighter jets, but we are also examining other alternatives.
We're talking about contracts worth billions, and Canada's not the only country getting jitters. Switzerland is facing internal pressure to cancel its own $6.8 billion F-35 deal. And Portugal signalled in March it may not ink a deal to buy F-35s because of, quote, the recent position of the United States. But here's the thing. Western countries can't just go shopping around. Some have already invested in the F-35 and face huge costs if they pull out. And right now, outside the US, there simply aren't alternatives for fifth-generation fighters made by NATO allies. Still, F-35 skeptics aren't completely out of options. Turkey is developing its own fifth-generation fighter, and France's President Emmanuel Macron recently said that F-35 buyers should instead consider the Rafale, a French-made fourth-generation jet. But this March, we entered a new generation of controversy over American jets.
The United States Air Force is moving forward with the world's first sixth-generation fighter jet.
A new category of aircraft is coming, stealthier than the F-35 and likely to integrate drone technology in new ways.
It's something the likes of which nobody has seen before.
In announcing the program's manned aircraft, called the F-47, Trump didn't exactly restore confidence in US military exports or the stability of America's relationships with its allies.
Certain allies will be selling them, perhaps toned-down versions. We like to tone them down about 10%, which probably makes sense because someday maybe they're not our allies, right?
Now, if you say you can buy my stuff, but it's probably not as good, well, that's not a very good sales pitch, is it?
But unlike fifth-generation fighters, the global race to develop sixth-generation jets could offer American allies more options outside the United States. Germany, France and Spain are working on their own sixth-gen jet platform, while the UK, Italy and Japan are collaborating on the Global Combat Air Programme, which aims to produce a sixth-generation fighter by 2035. Not to mention that, according to some experts and defence contractors, the future of aerial warfare won't even necessarily include traditional fighter jets. Instead, we'll soon see unmanned aircraft and drones dominating the skies. It's not clear how quickly the next generation of fighter programs will bear fruit. But for now, the United States is still very much the world's largest arms exporter, accounting for more than 40% of all global weapons sales. Almost 2/3 of weapons imported by European NATO members are made in the US. So, it's unlikely US allies will be fully breaking away from American gear anytime soon.
Yes, it is certainly true that if the US was actively trying to stop us using the F-35, there are a number of levers the US could pull to make it difficult, particularly over the medium term, to use the aircraft effectively. On the other hand, in the scenario where the US is actively trying to stop us doing a military operation, there are so many more important areas of complete dependence on the US for military support that, frankly, none of our military capabilities really would work in that scenario.
But it's also clear countries are right now starting to prepare for a new world in which the US plays a less central role in global defense.
Dass sich nun ausgerechnet auch die Vereinigten Staaten, die diese Ordnung so maßgeblich mitgeschaffen und geprägt haben, von ihr abwenden, das ist eine Erschütterung neuen Ausmaßes.
You can see this shift in the public statements of world leaders.
Our old relationship of steadily deepening integration with the United States is over.
You can see it in European defence stocks, you can see it in the kill switch rumours, and you can see it in the current doubts over the F-35.
The really important thing to me is that this has been a wake-up call for Europe. I think we should be grateful to Mr. Trump for that, because it's long overdue, and there is actually far more of a European focus now than there has been since the Second World War, and I think that's a healthy thing, that we need to continue to do more, because the threat is to us, not to mainland United States.
For now, as the international order faces seismic shifts, the stealth fighter program is a fault line to watch, because with Trump shaking things up, it's likely alliances will continue to be tested.